completely honest, you'll never solve the problem as long as you have law enforcement. The job will always be to arrest people, and there will always be people that don't like that.
Got nothing to hide. It's nothing deep down inside that you don't know about me. Now that's what I call transparency.
What's the deal, y'all? It's your man, No Malice, and you are tuned into Trackstarz Radio. That's what it is.
Yeah, back in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ Jeremiah. And this is going to be a fun topic, man. This is going to be really interesting. So if you're watching on Periscope or you're watching Post or however you're hearing this or seeing this, make sure you find us and leave us comments because we really want to know what you guys think about this. So some of you have seen the movie Straight Outta Compton. All right.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we want to reflect on that movie a little bit and also talk about some of the major themes of that movie. We don't endorse the movie. Right. So right off the top, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. But the actual, of course, the content is questionable. Yeah. It wasn't the worst content I've ever seen, but it was still
the
questionable.
plot was good. It was put together well.
But the actual, just as a movie, it was pretty well done. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna react to the movie, and then there's two major themes that I want to bring out that I'll mention after we give our quick review on, because this is technically a dissect.
Yeah.
Have we ever done a movie dissect before?
No, we always
on the
rails.
Yeah, okay. So it's kind of different. But we do have a police officer in the room, Ryan here, and he's going to kind of give his point of view on it, and we'll see how we can make all this work. All right? So, first of all, Straight Outta Compton, what did you think about the movie?
Thought the movie was good. It reminds me a lot. This is what I said. It's going to sound crazy. It reminds me a lot about the struggle we're having with CHH. You know what I mean? Like it's something that's not widely accepted by the church. A lot of people think that there's some demonic forces working behind CHH. So we're really just talking about moving forward with something that's going to be kind of like historical.
Not just the church. The world don't like it either.
Well, that too, yeah. Exactly. I mean, that's, and a lot of times in the movie they gave warning like, you're not going to want to do this in 20 years. This isn't going to be big. This whole rap thing is not going to, prosper or be anything at all. So to me, I felt like, wow, I'm watching something that talks about the early days of, CHH or where we are right now trying to recreate and make it better. So, I mean, I thought it was good. Now, the only thing I was worried about was the actual group itself. Their music did incite violence back in 1988, so whenever they started off. And I think that a lot of that has carried over into where we are today. You know what I mean? Like they were big around the Rodney King riots and the stop that, was done by police officers. And so I think that they need to apologize. No, seriously, I think they need to apologize. I think they need to apologize because they did incite violence, against law enforcement. It was a problem. It still is a problem. And gangster rap is a part of most of our problems. So, all
right, before we get into that, though, movie-wise, what did you think?
The movie was very good. I would say that. The movie also kept you. It was one of those movies that wasn't like it's dropped off. It never dropped off to me. Like it just kept going and going and kept you for the time being. So I would say that. I think, and we kind of talked about this earlier. I saw the understanding of why they made after police. I saw the understanding of different things. You know what I'm saying? Some stuff you may not understand, but when you see the movie, you understand why they did it, and then understand their rebellious spirit against, not understanding like it's okay, but the rebellion spirit of, even when they got the letter from the FBI and was like, this is like, he was like, this is good publicity. This is good publicity. They weren't scared of a letter because they were used to getting harassed or they were used to police brutality. So it wasn't like something that scared them. So, but overall, man, I think it was a good movie, man. I mean, like I said, it started, I was telling them, it reminded me of Batman, like The Dark Knight, where how they started The Dark Knight and it just kept you from there. And F. Gary Gray directed a great movie, man.
Now, okay, so my take on it was that I was surprised because the trailers didn't move me at all. I was not interested.
The trailer moved me.
I was not interested in watching the movie at all. But they, as a story, as a movie, it was very well done. Now, first of all, was it accurate? That's up for debate. Then there's two main themes that I want to touch on. Number one, Ice Cube says in the movie and in real life, it was kind of weird because it was strange that a lot of stuff he's been saying on his little promo tour is the same thing they said. He said that I was just talking about my environment.
Yeah.
What I don't understand about that statement is if you actually hear his lyrics, it's not like he's reporting on what's happening around him. It's not like Nas or Kendrick where they're just kind of like talking about what they've seen out their window. He's saying what he's gonna do to you and what he's gonna make happen. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not really accurate to say you were just talking about your environment. You were portraying yourself as the environment. Yeah, isn't that different?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a big difference between saying I saw Andrew tape me with the recorder versus I took the tape from Andrew and recorded y'all. Like it's two different things. So yeah, you're right. It's two different things.
The other thing is, okay, this is a big topic now. This police brutality issue. In the movie, you saw some situations where the police were being rough with them because of affiliations and what they look like. But there was one scene in particular that is not a spoiler, I don't think, that I thought highlighted the problem we're having right now. And this is unpopular, so just turn off if you don't want to hear this. There was a scene where Dr. Dre, it was weird because he randomly came out and just punched somebody in the face, right? Yeah. So the cops came up and they were like, "What's going on?"
No. What happened was he was messing with his brother. Like he was doing something to his brother.
That's fine, but he just punched somebody in the face. Yeah. And the cops rolled up and was like, "Hey, what's going on here?" Yeah. And everybody was like, "Oh, nothing." So the cops told him, "Disperse, like go home." And he's like, "I am where I'm supposed to be," right?
Yeah.
He basically bucks back at the cop a couple times. I didn't think the cop was being unreasonable in that situation. Yeah. It's like, obviously something happened, so go home, right? He bucked back at him. Yeah. He ended up in jail.
Yeah.
The next day, he came out of jail talking to Easy and said, "I ain't do nothing."
Yeah.
To me, that is why we're having this problem right now. It's the police brutality, which some of it is accurate, but then it's the attitude that we feel like we're supposed to have back to it. Yeah. Isn't that adding to the problem? I understand the frustration, but should we be encouraging people to buck back at cops? Is that making it worse?
It's definitely making it worse. Definitely making it worse.
I'm just asking.
No, it is.
What do you think?
Me as a police officer?
Yes. Especially.
Probably guess where I'm at on that. No, I mean, but seriously, I was very anti-police before I became a police officer.
Really?
Very, yes.
Wow.
Because, I've been arrested just like anybody else has. But it would take 5 years of law enforcement experience to really understand. Now, I'm the most pro-cop that exists.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So I'm also very, very Christian in my beliefs. So Romans 13 says to submit to all authority. And even Paul said to honor the emperor when the emperor at the time was Nero. And Nero was so evil, he was lighting his garden with burning Christians. So even if the authority is evil, we're still to submit to it.
Right. So, and that's exactly what I'm hitting at. Wow. So now, we have two problems, and nobody's willing to change on either side. Is it true, because you're a cop, you're a pro cop, but is it true that some cops go too far? Have you seen that? Can you understand why they're saying that?
To be completely honest, we all know that cases of police brutality has existed. But in my 5 years of experience, I've seen a lot because I work in Zone 3.
Wow.
I've never seen a case of police brutality. Never. I've been accused of it many times, but all the allegations were false. They've had situations where it appears that I'm wrestling with an unarmed man, and he's saying, "I'm just going for my cell phone, just going for my cell phone." And there was a crowd, and they're all filmed with their cameras. "Leave that boy alone, leave that boy alone." And then I pull a gun out of his pocket. And they go, "Oh, he planted that. He planted that." So it's like you can't win.
You can't win.
But the foundation for the thought process for all police officers and how you can avoid having an incident blow up bigger than it has to be, like say on a traffic stop, is the understanding that all police officers, if they are experienced and not a rookie, that they all are paranoid, and for good reason. They're all skittish. They're all scared. And it's all because we've been scarred from past experiences. You think, I'm just going to my pockets for a cell phone. And we've been scarred from past experiences when the thing that came out of the pocket was not a cell phone. Or when you get out of the car to ask him a question, I'm just asking a question. But the last time a guy got out of the car, I got in a fight, I got in a wreck, I got in a shootout.
Wow.
And it's very common. And I mean, just yesterday, one of our officers got shot at on a traffic stop. And the day before yesterday, 2 of our officers almost got ran over by a car, and they had to shoot the guy. So it's very common, and if you've lost count how many times someone's tried to kill you, it's probably because you're a cop. And so just understand that you may be a great person, a good person, but we take precautions, and we'll jump all over you and go, don't put your hands in your pockets, because we're skittish. We're like a abused dog from the last time where it didn't go well. We don't know you. We don't know your intentions.
Now, let me ask for the people watching, because I know our audience. Is it that could be true, but for instance, there was a scene in the movie where it was the members of NWA. They were just standing there, and they told them all to get down on the ground, but their manager was white. They didn't say nothing to him.
Yeah.
Is it true that yes, you could be skittish because of past experiences, but based on the face looking at you and the past experiences, you may lean toward thinking that somebody that looks like a thug may be more of a thug than somebody who doesn't look like a thug? Is that reasonable to say?
Honestly, no. I mean, where I work, it's all black, so there's no racial anything. Even though I, of course, been accused of being a racist so many times I've lost count. I don't tell them that my wife is black. I just let them go on with what they're thinking. And I've had people accuse a black officer for arresting a black guy, and he's accusing him of being a racist. I'm like, you all are on the same side. What's the deal there? But no, because we've all had experiences where a person that maybe didn't fit the stereotypical profile of what you might think of as being a criminal. So I'm skeptical of everybody. I don't care if it's a little old lady who's 80 years old. I will still tell her, don't put your hands in your pocket. And we just have a uniform thing across the board.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it true that when an officer pulls you over, you are typically under arrest until you sign your citation? Like if they pull you over, so anything that
that's happens, a very good question.
Okay.
And we get that a lot in court too. Even sometimes lawyers don't know this rule. There is a difference between being arrested and being detained.
Okay.
Something called a Terry v. Ohio. It's called a Terry stop.
Okay.
Where the laws have ruled that there's something called an investigative detention. It means you're not under arrest. There's no charges put on you, but you are not free to leave. Even if you're not in handcuffs, really, in the eyes of the law, whether or not you're in handcuffs or not doesn't matter. It's, are you free to leave? And when you're being pulled over, you're under investigative detention.
Wow.
At that time, you're not free to leave, but you're not under arrest. It's you need what's called RAS, reasonable articulable suspicion. It's not quite the level of probable cause, but it's just concern based on a good reason.
I got a question for you, because I think a lot of the confusion, what I've been seeing, is because of issues like Trayvon and all the other issues that have occurred in the last couple of years. There's this thought that black people don't know their rights in those situations, so they're attempting to verbalize their rights when they get pulled over. Right. What are you and are you not allowed to do? Because what it looks like to me is that every black person I've seen getting pulled over with their camera saying, you ain't allowed to do this. You ain't allowed. It seems as though the cop is saying, but I am allowed to. And it seems like there's a rub there between what we think we're allowed to say and do versus what you're allowed to say and do. What can you clear up some of those rules for everybody?
I mean, it's hard to go into all of it because the fact of the matter is the law is very complicated. I mean, lawyers go to school for years to learn the law. I've gone to school for 4 years to learn the law, and I was taught the law in the academy, and I've worked it for 5 years. So there are a lot of technicalities and loopholes. You may think, well, I have a right to stand here on this sidewalk. Well, technically, according to the laws of Atlanta, if you're blocking a city sidewalk, that's a crime. It's against the law to spit on a city sidewalk. It's against the law to cross the road not in a crosswalk. So, I mean, there are thousands of times where we could arrest somebody or could give them a ticket based on a technicality, but we just don't because it's not necessary to. But if there's this bigger crime that we're trying to get to, maybe we've been getting a lot of complaints by concerned grandmas about drug dealing or prostitution in the area.
I got you.
Most common charge on a prostitute is pedestrian in the roadway, which is just walking in the street, because we can't prove that prostitution has occurred unless you're undercover, and even then they usually get out the next day.
So to the person it looks like you're harassing them, but what you're really doing is they are breaking a law, but you're using that minor law to get to the deeper.
Well, yeah, that, and we are also allowed to lie. We're not even required by law to tell you what you're under arrest for. People say you have to tell me my charges. I said no, we don't. They say you have to read me my rights, and a lot of people were surprised by this. I said no, I don't. The only time we have to Mirandize somebody of their rights is before custodial interrogation. So if you're not in custody, or I'm not asking you any incriminating questions, I don't have to read your rights. In fact, things that you say in the back of my patrol car, what I didn't ask you, is still admissible in court because it's called spontaneous utterance.
Oh man!
It means I didn't ask you; you just volunteered the information. It's kind of like I didn't go in your pockets. If you just pulled out a pound of cocaine and set it on the table, well, I didn't go in your pockets. You gave that to me. So you gave me that information without me asking you. So if a lot of people knew their rights, they would be quieter. The best thing to do, the best thing to do is to use your right to remain silent, because it can only hurt you. Nothing you can say can ever help you, and that's just the fact of the matter. But yeah, most people say I know my rights, and they really don't. But I encourage every person take a criminal justice class, and also really what would really help, and what has always helped in my experience, is when you go on a police ride-along. We offer free police ride-alongs at my precinct, and every person that has gone with me just for one day comes out profoundly changed. Every single one of them.
So, I have a question. So, okay, you said earlier, how'd you go from being anti-police to being like pro-police, even as an officer? Like, what was that transition like for you, going from not trusting police to now, like, I understand and I agree with police?
Well, I guess it's just it's a culmination of thousands of experiences, but knowing that, one, every time I've ever been in a fight, a foot chase, someone being shot at, whatever it is, the only person that ever came to my aid was a police officer. Even when I was in a fight for my life, surrounded by a crowd of people, the only person that ever came to my aid was a police officer. And the past experiences when I was being arrested or I was being pulled over, I didn't understand from their point of view why they were acting the way they were acting. I just thought they were controlling, pompous jerks. And now I realize, oh, okay, now I get it. This is why they were doing what they were doing. And you'd really have to have gone through other experiences where you have faced death on many, many occasions to know why they were acting the way they were acting.
I'm speechless.
This is crazy. So going back to the movie, one of the major rubs was this idea of freedom of speech. I can imagine what your answer is going to be, but basically I don't know if you are familiar with NWA specifically, but NWA had a song called F the Police. And basically it was, you guys do this, you guys do that, forget you guys. If you don't stop acting that way, there's going to be a riot. And this was around the Rodney King riots time, where both things were on display. The brutality and the reaction to it was like the culmination of it. Do you think lyrics like that are inciting violence? Like people got on Kendrick Lamar for his All Right song. Is that exercising freedom of speech, or is that dangerous as a Christian and as a cop?
I mean, I think the music is not so much the cause. I think it's a symptom of a heart problem. Music is an expression of what was already in the heart. You know, the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so there was already a culture problem to begin with. But, you know, I've been on scene with riots. I can remember one time I was in this apartment complex, and an officer, good officer, strong Christian, not a racist, he shot a guy in the back. And we, by policy, are required to handcuff that person and wait for EMS. So he wasn't bleeding out. It was just a flesh wound in the back. He was fine. But the family comes out, And what do they see? They see a guy shot in the back, handcuffed, and we're all standing around just waiting.
It looks insensitive.
Yeah. Yeah. So within a matter of minutes, we had a riot on our hands of hundreds of people. They called the SWAT team. They called Red Dog. They called helicopter units. They called CSU units. They called neighboring zones. I mean, it was nuts. People were going crazy. What they didn't realize was, because they weren't on scene for the incident, is that the kid was trying to pull out a gun to shoot the officer, but he turned around so the officer wouldn't see him pull it out. So the officer did this ballerina move. He was actually a SWAT member, so he's very good about maintaining a tactical position, and the best position to be in is not in the line of fire. So he did this little ballerina move and shot him in the back and took the gun. But it looks on the surface like he just wanted to shoot him in the back for no reason. And that's the last thing we want to do, because it's months of questioning and paperwork, and we know we're going to get rioted and protesting, and we know we're going to be on the news, and it's the last thing we want. And what you don't hear about is the thousands of times where we could have shot somebody and had every legal right to and didn't. There have been so many times I could have shot somebody and killed him and would have been fine legally, but I didn't because I found another way, which was actually more dangerous for me, but I didn't want to do it, so I found another way.
That's awesome.
Now, okay, real quick, last two things. Have you seen some of the videos? Because a lot of people that are angry are because they're seeing situations. Have you ever seen a video? You may not have experienced it locally here in Atlanta, but have you seen an incident where you're like, the cop probably shouldn't have done that? Has there ever been?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
definitely.
So I think that's part of what is going on, is because those things are being publicized. So that's why you guys are getting the bad rap. So how are we going to fix this? Because there are some people who are bad apples, or what I've noticed from the outside looking in is it looks like some people take offense to certain things, and they, even as police officers, they have a little bit of authority, and the bad apples, they overreact, or they take offense and they start getting angry and they may come out of character. If those people exist, and then there are the agitators that exist, how are we ever going to solve this problem if nobody changes?
It's true.
Well, I mean, to be completely honest, you'll never solve the problem as long as you have law enforcement. The job will always be to arrest people, and there will always be people that don't like that. You know, before I was a cop, I was in the Marines. People loved me. They loved me because of the shirt that I wore. And then I switched shirts, and those same people are cursing me out, spitting on me, kicking me, shooting at me, just because of the shirt. Because people love the idea of a hero with a gun way over there in Iraq, defending our freedom. But the idea of being home and the enemy of public order could be you this time, because a drunk you at a party isn't the best thing for public order. That's too hard for most people to swallow. So very few people can admit that, yeah, today I might have been the enemy, just for today.
Wow. That could preach. That sounds like a Christian problem too. I mean, I'll talk about it later. But that's really good, man. And we really appreciate you coming and giving that side of it, because what I was slightly worried about is after the movie, because of how it was portrayed, that you would get a lot of that re-energy of angst against police. I haven't seen anything yet so far, but I'm wondering how people are going to react to it, because we are living in a time where there has been some cases of brutality, and there's been a lot of cases of overreaction to what is being done. And I'm nervous about that crew right now on both sides, because a movie like this brings up bad memories, and I'm just hoping that everybody acts right. I'm really proud of people like Thizzle, people out there on the scene that are keeping peace. To me, those are the real heroes in this situation, because they realize the problem and they're able to balance it. Like, they're able to stand up for guys like you, and they're able to stand up for guys that they feel were treated wrongly without the violence and all the other stuff. So those are the people we need to have in this situation, in my opinion.
We kind of missed out on, I know we had to go on a few, but we kind of missed out on the 5 things to do when he gets stopped.
Real quick, from your perspective, if somebody gets pulled over, what would you suggest they do? What's the proper procedure to get through that process easily?
Well, one is the police officer is not required to tell you anything. We don't have to tell you what charges we have cooking in our mind about what we could put on you. So you don't know exactly what your rights are. So let's say you say, well, I don't. Okay, like 2 days ago, this kid said, well, I don't give you consent to search my car. I don't give you consent. I'm like, well, I don't need your consent because I smell marijuana in here, and that is probable cause in the state of Georgia to search your car. So I'm going to take you into cuffs now. You know, so just cooperate. Give them anything they ask of you. If they ask for your ID, don't give them a lecture about I know the law. Don't get out of the car unless you're told to get out of the car. If you get out of the car and we tell you not to, I'm thinking it's going to be like the last 5 times where the kid took off running or pulled out a gun on me. Don't put your hands in your pocket. We think something might come out with those hands. Don't reach underneath the seat because that's where people store guns. And just don't be generally irritable because that puts us on alert mode, and then we'll react in kind.
Wow, that's very valuable, and we really appreciate your take on it. And I hope we get a lot of comments about this because I want to know what everybody thinks. Yeah. Make sure you comment because this is something. What I'm worried about is all the situations I've seen lately. I've seen a rise in you can't do this, you can't do this, blah blah blah. There's a lot of that, and I don't think people really know what they're talking about, and it may make the situation worse. So, not excusing any bad apples on either side, but for the people that are kind of in that middle area, I think we need to get the laws straight because I think we're confused. All right, man. So let's get back into it. You in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ Jeremiah. Let's go.
This is that brand new.